A diplomatic storm is brewing between Uganda and the United States, and it all started online. At the center of the dispute is Uganda's Chief of Defense Forces, General Muhozi Kainerugaba, who took to social media with claims that the U.S. Embassy in Kampala had crossed into Uganda's internal political space. The army chief, who is the son of President Yoweri Museveni, then suggested severing military cooperation between Kampala and Washington, including their joint security operations in the Horn of Africa. The post referenced opposition figure Bobi Wine and immediately sparked controversy. Within hours, the messages were taken down. General Muhozi later said the information he relied on was incorrect and confirmed that military cooperation with the United States would, quote, continue as usual. But in Washington, the explanation did little to calm nerves. One of the top officials expressing concern is U.S. Senate Foreign Relations Committee Chairperson Jim Risch, who said that General Kainerugaba has crossed a red line. The U.S. Senators say the Trump administration must reevaluate U.S. security partnership with Uganda and possibly impose sanctions because, according to him, the Uganda's army chief's deletion of the initial post and issuing what he called hollow apologies were not enough. However, the Ugandan military leadership has now pushed back. Defense spokesperson Colonel Chris Magezi described the remarks by the U.S. Senator as an outdated colonial tactic of intimidation and interference in Uganda's internal affairs, vowing Kampala will vigorously resist such an approach. However, Colonel Magezi underlined the depth of cooperation between Uganda and the U.S. across various sectors, which he said should not be affected by public exchanges on social media. So far, there have been no words from U.S. President Donald Trump on the row. The timing of the dispute is not accidental. It follows Uganda's recent elections, in which President Yoweri Museveni secured a seventh five-year term to extend his 40-year rule. But his main rival, Bobi Wine, has rejected the outcome, alleging irregularities. The authorities have denied the claim.
The 2026 Ugandan general election was marred by a nationwide internet blackout, repression of civil society, violence against opposition supporters, and the suppression of independent media and communication. Just days before the vote, the Uganda Communications Commission ordered the shutdown of internet and mobile service in a brazen attempt to blind citizens to the democratic processes and undermine transparency at the crucial moment when information is needed. Reports from international human rights organizations confirmed that these steps violated fundamental rights to access information and free expression, creating information vacuum that shields abuses, delays results, and erode public confidence in the integrity of the elections. We condemn the violence and intimidation directed against opposition figures, political activists, and voters, and the unaccountable use of security forces to silence dissent. The EFF stands in firm solidarity with the people of Uganda and calls on regional and international bodies to recognize these elections as illegitimate and unacceptable democratic norms.
A series of explosive social media posts on X by Uganda's Chief of Defense Forces, General Muhozi Kainerugaba, have left him with an egg on his face and caused a diplomatic strife between Kampala and Washington, D.C. In those posts, the army chief accused the U.S. Embassy in Kampala of colluding with opposition leader Bobi Wine, a claim that has now triggered a major diplomatic crisis and threatens Uganda's military cooperation, financial aid, and overall relationship with the United States. Hours later, Muhozi deleted the posts and apologized, saying he had been fed with wrong information. He claimed to have spoken with the U.S. ambassador and said military cooperation will continue as usual. But Washington says the apology is hollow and that the damage is already done. The controversy comes against the backdrop of Uganda's January 15th elections, which saw President Yoweri Museveni win a controversial seventh term amid widespread allegations of election fraud and violence. In one of his controversial posts on X, Muhozi wrote, "As for Bobi, the permanent loser, I am giving him exactly 48 hours to surrender himself to the police, If he does not, we will treat him as an outlaw or rebel and handle him accordingly. He went further to say, we have killed 22 Nupe terrorists since last week. I am praying the 23rd is Kabobi. His inflammatory language, often expressed through social media posts, combined with his tight grip on the military, has left many questioning whether Uganda is headed toward a dynastic rule that could further alienate the country from the West.
The laws of this country prohibit serving military officers from engaging in partisan politics. And both before and after he became the commander of the military, he has been quite rampant, if I may put it that way, in expressing controversial political views.
Bobi Wine, now in hiding after the election, accused Muhozi of personally orchestrating violence against his supporters.
The East African community is watching, the African Union is watching when a presidential candidate is threatened and a chief of defense forces, a head of the military, issues instructions to murder citizens and nobody speaks a word. It is disturbing.
And with sanctions, reduced military cooperation and aid cuts now on the table, the implications of this crisis could be felt for years to come.
He's very calm and quiet. He will listen and take notes from everybody. So he gives everybody a chance. But he's patient with everybody, and then he's able to listen to the different contending views and create a very good synthesis.
As Uganda stands at a crossroads, the international community will be watching closely. The future of US-Uganda relations and Uganda's political future now hang in the balance as Muhozi's path to power grows ever more uncertain.
Online. We call this online wars. And now, General Muhozi, the son to the president of Uganda, the chief advisor to the president, he feels like he can do anything. He's above the law because he is the chief defense force of the country of Uganda. He is the chief advisor of the president, and again at the same time he is the son to the president, who is the Museveni, the long time serving president of Uganda. But now here comes the problem, because when he was all doing this, trying to threaten or the opposition leader, because of him. That's why the opposition leader fled this country, and up to this time, he has been away from the country for weeks. For weeks, he's not home. His family doesn't know where he is. Only God knows. His wife, Babi, was threatened, assaulted by the military. The house was raided. You know, it raised some concerns, and the chief defense force, Mr. Muhozi, came out online trying to threaten and calling the supporters of Bobi Wine, the opposition leader, a terrorist. And he claimed himself that he killed several number of the supporters of Bobi Wine. And now the next target was Bobi Wine himself, calling him Kabobi. And now this brought or raised some sparkle reactions across the world. You know, people came out reacting about this. The international bodies came in, and now US senators came in trying to follow up all that was going on in the country of Uganda. And Museveni's son, Muhozi, came out threatening with the military office of Uganda, of South Africa, of America, you know, calling them some names that they have no authority or power to come and interfere with the system or anything that's happening in the country of Uganda. And now, today something different is happening, because after all this, after the senators of US reacted to the incidents that happens in the country of Uganda, you know, General Museveni came out to delete all the tweets that he was published online, threatening the people of Uganda and the opposition sides. And after that, he went on to apologize for a mistake that he did against the people of Uganda, against the opposition leader, and against the international laws or American voice. Now, what happened next? American diplomacy rejected the apology from Muhozi General, because they feel like this man is trying to take actions that is not allowed to be taken against humanity. He was there to do some assault to the people of Uganda because maybe he was trying to feel like Uganda belongs to them, so they have the authority to do what they want to do. People came out. We came out immediately days after election to criticize all that was happening because election cannot be conducted in a country that is out of internet. The people are not allowed to practice their own democracies. The people are not allowed to come out and speak their voices. The people are not allowed to come and speak for their justice. And they call this a democratic country. Many people came out to react about this. We came here to speak about this, making videos, creating videos, spreading messages across the world so that people can be able to see all that's happening. People from Ugandans, Ugandans from diaspora came out demonstrating on the streets of Canada, US, and all over the world, trying to call peace and justice in the country of Uganda because they are feeling and they were saying that they are tired with the regime of Mr. Museveni. But Museveni himself came out to say that the country of Uganda belongs to him and no one can come and beat him in an election. And he even got the lowest vote because when his people would have turned out to vote for him, would have got the massive votes than what was expected. And now, we as Africans, why we always come out to speak about these matters? Because we, as per now, we are trying to push for the unity of African continent. I have a channel that calls Kenyan Explorer. Go search Kenyan Explorer. We are speaking there the matters of Africa and how we can make Africa united, Africa unity, a sovereignty, Africa independent, and everything. How we are trying to fight against the imperials and everything. Now, go search the Kenyan Explorer. Now, here we are still speaking about the Africa's unity. So, there is no way we can be speaking about the Africa's unity, independence, when we are still not able to manage our own issues, when we are not able as Africans to fight to solve some petty issues like going on an election, electing the leader that we want, and make life move on. This is not good because at this time there is African politicians who are making life in Africa to be hard. Because when people are coming to the election time and the leaders or politicians are not ready to give them what they want, are not ready to give them enough space or time to make their own decision and choose the leaders that they need for themselves. But they're just there to make sure that they are the ones who are only vying for this position. So we cannot allow this to happen because if this continues to happen like this, we cannot have the Africa that we want. We cannot get the Africa that we want, but we will always be having the Africa that other people want. Because these politicians have nothing. We have come to realize that these politicians have no interest to African continent, have no interest in the people, but they are only interested for what they need in their countries, what they need in their life. Because what they are securing their positions as the leaders of the country, that's what they care. They don't care how much people are losing life, how much people are suffering, how much people or youth, how number of the youth are employed. And they're just coming out to continue destroying our continent, our African countries. They're still coming out to intervene, to collaborate with the foreigners, just to make sure that we lose everything we are having. So this is what we are fighting for, and we cannot sit down watch all that's happening being done by African politicians, our leaders, and we just keep quiet. Because these African countries, these countries are ours. These are countries. This is our home, not for politicians. Politicians are only servants. The people whom we choose to occupy that office so that they can represent us in some things, so that they can make some things to deliver to the people, but not taking actions, not taking full control. Because they are only there to represent you, but not oppress you. Because of you, that's why they are there. Because of Ugandans, that's why Museveni is in office. That's why he's our president. But it doesn't mean that he's much powerful than the people, because the people are the one who choose him to be there. And he's there to represent the people. And the money and the tax of the people are the one that's being used to pay him. So how can this be possible? How can this be possible to just sit down and watch our not our masters, but our servants oppressing their masters? because the people are the masters, and the leaders are the servants who are only supposed to be working to the people. But politicians change this narrative in other way around. So today Uganda is facing sanctions from America, and as we know, America has sanctioned many of the African countries. We've been always coming out to speak about this, how we even love sanction the America, because we need an African continent, a free African continent that will be able to stand by itself, but not being dictated, not being told what to do. But when it comes to the matter where people are so concerned, where the life of people are so concerned, we don't give a damn. But we only support this. We only support this because people have to respect, the leaders have to respect their people. That's all we need. People need freedom. We need the freedom in our countries. We need freedom as parents to raise our children. Today, baby wine is far away from homes for some weeks. His family is alone. The family is living under fear because they are not sure if their father is safe or not. And the crime that he did is to go and contest for the presidential seat, competing with Museveni. That's totally bad and wrong. Let me have you in the comment section. We have a lot to speak about for now. Let me just end here so I can continue connecting for the next episode. Let me have your views in the comments. Go in the comment section. I'll make sure that I respond to each and every comment, and be blessed.